Are you an avid fan of The Archers, the captivating radio show that has captivated audiences for years? If so, then buckle up for an insightful look at the incredible portrayal of George by Angus Stobie. This rising talent has brought the character to life in a way that is both heart-wrenching and emotionally charged. Uh, Stobie's journey into the world of the Archers began when he tried out for a prominent role right after graduating from Manchester Drama School with no prior experience in radio acting. He spent hours practicing animal impressions alone in his living room during the pandemic. And it paid off big time when the editor of the Archers heard Stobie. He saw something special in this young talent and gave him the opportunity to play the role of George. Although Stobie initially began by portraying another character, uh, Brad Harabin, the role of George eventually fell into his lap. Um, Stobie confessed that he was both surprised and thrilled at the opportunity. Um, but how did a city boy who grew up in a peaceful urban setting manage to capture the essence of rural life so accurately on the radio? His secret lies in his attention to detail and genuine curiosity. Um, Instead of simply asking, "I'm curious," he went the extra mile to learn things like the weight of a sheep and how quickly it moves. Though he'd never even held a ferret before, he hopes to one day have some in his studio as they play a role in the traditional Grundy pastime. Stobie worked closely with Trevor Harrison, who plays Eddie, to perfect the accent needed for his character. He also had to modernize the voice to reflect a teenager's interests in social media, TikTok, and American slang. The relationship between George and Brad is quite intriguing. Initially, George was being a bully, but as time passed, he developed a sense of respect for Brad. There's a deep sense of realism in their interactions, which often ring true for anyone who has experienced the ups and downs of teenage life. In fact, Stobie was brought on board because Jeremy Howe, the editor, recognized his exceptional ability to deliver subtle, emotive lines. Uh, Stobie has been assigned some of the most significant scenes in Ambridge, the fictional village where the story takes place. But who is George really? Stobie's character is the natural son of Will Grundy and was raised by his uncle Ed after his mother Emma Carter left, so on. He's got a whole slew of relatives on his father's side, including cousins, uh, grandparents, and half siblings. His family background is uh, complex, to say the least. Alice, George's aunt by marriage, started a tragic series of events when she got drunk and drove her car, leading George to try his hand at driving her fancy car. And what is really interestingly revealed, uh, the story took a dark turn after George, in a moment of panic, uh, shifted blame for the accident away from himself. Alice still intoxicated, tried to get out of the car to bonnet, causing George to swerve and crash into a taxi carrying villagers, sending them into the river. He managed to save 3 of them, but the aftermath of the accident wreaked havoc on families in the village. In a suspenseful twist, George ended up in an adult prison instead of a youth detention center, like his fellow character Freddie Pargeter. This set the stage for many intense, dramatic confrontations between George and the people of Ambridge. And what's next for George's story? Well, that's a mystery yet to be unraveled. Will there be redemption or further consequences? Can George learn to make amends and forge a new path? We'll just have to wait and see, just like the audience of the Archers. So sit back, enjoy, and find out what happens next in this captivating tale of love, deceit, integrity, and young adult problems set against the picturesque backdrop of rural life in Ambridge. Until next time, remember, the power of radio brings the village of Ambridge to life, and we can all be a part of this storied history